I opened a Labatt Ice and I wished I hadn't.
Yeah. Oh my god.
I'm just drinking vanilla Coke, but I'm drinking it with ice in it, like a fountain soda. It's very luxurious.
Ooh, very fancy.
God, I miss going outside.
You were outside earlier.
Yeah, but like outside the containment zone.
Yeah, off the porch that you were contained to.
Well, this is true. Yes, it'd be nice to go outside the porch. I went down to the grocery store earlier, and the line was all the way down the block on account of they had closed for 2 days. And I was like, I'm not doing this. I'll go to the grocery store tomorrow.
I have not been outside since before this shit started, so I'm good. I'm thriving. Nothing has changed to me.
The Usenet downloads. Okay, I am good.
Oh.
What were you downloading from Usenet?
Nothing.
All right, so this is a bonus episode, so we don't have to do introductions because everyone knows who we are.
Yeah, you had to pay us.
Yeah, you had to pay us money to see this.
Foolish.
Mm-hmm. It also means that you can't be upset at us for any of the things that we say because you paid for this.
They're gonna get bad.
That's just buyer's regret. Yeah.
Before we begin, I'd like to say a joke.
Go ahead.
So okay. So there are these two Jewish parents, and they have a son named David, who has immense and enormous behavioral problems. Every school they send him to, David always acts up. He gets thrown out of class. There's calls home and this and that, and they're at the end of their rope. The parents don't know what to do, and finally someone says, "Why don't you send him to the local Catholic school?" And the parents deliberate this for hours. They're not super comfortable sending their Jewish kid to a Catholic school, but they figure something has to be done. We have to absolutely do something. So they send him to the Catholic school, and David gets better, and they realize that there's no problems, and they're very happy with the Catholic school. They can't believe it. David used to act up all the time. This is the first school he's ever really done well in. And finally, there's parent-teacher conferences, and the parents are elated. They can't wait to talk to the teacher, the nuns, about, the progress that David has made. And they say, "What did you do? What's your secret?" And the nun looks at them and says, "Well, on his first day here, we took him and pointed him to a crucifix, and we said to him, 'That's what happened to the last Jewish boy who acted up.'" I am Jewish. My mother taught me that joke. Do not cancel me for that.
Oh man, I don't know any Muslim jokes. I feel bad. I feel like I gotta Google some right now. I
could do some racist shit where we talk about dipping our bullets in bacon grease or whatever.
Love to do that.
It makes the bullet less good.
That works equally well against Muslims and Jews, though.
Yeah, and Hindus, which is why it's so funny that we did it in India.
Where's prohibited from eating the pork? Doesn't say anything about getting shot by it.
I guess Islamically it's only bad if you get shot with it if you choose to be shot by it. If somebody was like, "Hey, can I shoot you with this? It's got pork in it," and you're like, "Sure, okay."
Wow, we're getting into some weird kinks real quick.
I have a joke.
Go ahead.
Oh boy.
So a Catholic, a Muslim, and a Jew walk into a podcast. What do they do?
Shit on Protestantism for 2 hours.
They talk shit on Protestantism. That's what we're here to do tonight, folks.
Well, God's mistake, baby.
All right. So here we go. Let's start out. Let's start out here talking about the legitimate Abrahamic faiths, right?
Yeah.
Oh boy.
So number one is Judaism, right?
That's me,
with a big foam finger. We're number one. We're number one.
That's actually what I had to do my Torah portion with. I just
you had a big foam yod.
Yes, a big foam yod, just going down in Hebrew. Yeah, with no fucking vowels printed because the Torah is a mindfuck.
So, all right. So God created the world 6,000 years ago, right? He put all the fake dinosaur bones and geological formations in there to confuse us.
I had a Sunday school teacher who literally believed that was true. Yes, I did. Israelis are some crazy folks, man.
Yeah, and the key thing is that there's one God. There's one guy. Not actually a guy, but there's one thing, and he doesn't want you to use an elevator on a Saturday. Yeah, and that's really the big deal.
Yeah, that's it. Put more succinctly by my dad, one God at the most, and Jesus is not it.
So, you get Adam and Eve, you got Noah, Abraham, Moses, blah, 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 all that Torah stuff. Or if you believe all the fake stuff, Judaism grew out of a Canaanite polytheistic religion in the late Bronze Age.
Shut up.
Right?
Shut
But, that's all fake.
Nope.
Right, the book is called the Torah. The people are called rabbis. They all eat lox. Yeah.
And, as Walter Sobchak says in The Big Lebowski, 2,000 years of beautiful tradition from Moses to Sandy Koufax.
Yes, and thank God no Jewish person has ever done anything shitty since.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And you can flash a picture of Jeffrey Epstein up there later. I can say it.
I remember Felix Biederman from Chapo Trap House had a long joke about how terrible it was to be a Jewish guy in America and have the most famous Jewish guy in America be a rich pedophile. And it's just like, yeah, great, amazing.
It's just every time, someone does something super shitty on the news, or like Lloyd Bankfeld opens his mouth, I'm just like,
oh, yeah.
Please don't be a Jew. Please don't be a Jew. Please don't be a Jew. And I fucking know it.
This is Muslims with terrorist attacks, right?
Yeah.
Is that like every time there's a terrorist attack, you're like, don't be Muslim, don't be Muslim, don't be Muslim, don't be Muslim. Please just be a white supremacist this time.
Yep. I feel that on pedophiles and bankers, and I'm just like, can you guys just not
just embarrassed, just a bad look,
yes,
bad
optics. You are making us look bad.
But anyway, on
Speaking
to
of looking bad.
Yes. All right. So, what is Catholicism?
Wrong.
Wrong, but aesthetic.
Yeah. So anyway, Jesus of Nazareth, is the Messiah. He's born of the Virgin Mary. He died and resurrected, blah, blah, blah. He did some miracles and teachings and stuff that people wrote down a lot later, right?
Most notably a guy called Saul, who is then called Paul.
Yes.
Who writes a bunch of letters yelling at people about what they're doing wrong in terms of early Christianity.
But the most important thing, though, is that he made St. Peter the Pope around 30 AD, right?
Well, that's the most important thing.
That caused Catholicism to happen. That created the institution. Dying for our sins was secondary. The institution is what is important.
Look, if you talk...
You sound like my dad, dude.
There is a reason, right, why the Catholic Church still styles itself the Holy and Apostolic Catholic Church, because founded by the Apostle Peter. It's a big deal. He's still buried under the Vatican, theoretically.
Yeah. We're going to talk about that in a little while.
Get ready for some anger about deferred maintenance.
Oh, yeah. So this is actually an engineering disaster when it comes right down to it.
It literally is, actually.
We're not off topic at all. We just have to meander a bit to get there.
You know that engraving in Dante's Inferno with where God is the big fucking spiral thing? We're just all climbing up step ladders into that with high vises on and going, well, yeah, right up there. You've got some
why isn't God ADA accessible?
Yeah, you've got some mold or something up there. You got to take care of that.
God's just asking you for an estimate. He's going back and forth because this is the Hebrew God. He's cheaping out on it.
This wouldn't have happened if you talk to my cousin. He's a theology guy. He would have cleared this right up for you.
Back then, it wasn't called Catholicism. It was just called Christianity, right? Because they hadn't figured out there were going to be more types. The book's called the Bible. There are priests. You get booze in church.
Yeah, and the wafers. Although the wafers aren't very good, they stick to the roof of your mouth.
Oh, they're horrible.
They suck. Yeah,
raised Catholic, and then so technically, as far as the church is concerned, I'm just extremely lapsed. So 1.5 Catholics. Yeah, 1.5 Catholics walk into a podcast.
No, you're the opposite of our upstairs neighbor.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Love you, Miss Venus.
She's very nice. So, and then
I see the direction this one's going. Okay, yeah. We're number 3.
Yeah, you were founded last, so
yes, yeah, and we make a big thing of last, right?
Yeah.
Muhammad, seal of the prophets, very specific. He was very specific. I'm the last one, and God has revealed the Quran to me in a very convenient way. To correct you two idiots who got it wrong the last time. And then everybody who comes after me is like a fraud. So don't worry about it. And then, of course, immediately guys started saying that they were like the next prophet. So he got kind of owned there. But
now, this is my issue here, right? Is what happened here? What is Islam? God decided to confuse and infuriate everyone. Right? with the new religion. So around 610 AD, he sent the Archangel Gabriel to reveal prophecies to Muhammad, right?
Yep, that's right.
He had already established a chain of command, right?
You saying that Gabriel should have gone to the Pope?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
How do you know that he didn't, right? And the Pope wasn't just like, weird dream, just ignored it. And then you just gotta go down the chain until you find some guy in Arabia. You know,
you figure he'd go through a couple like archbishops or something
archbishops
first,
or some other patriarch. Yeah. There's a bunch of people you could talk to.
Yeah,
Constantinople was a place at that point.
How many people did he have to go through?
Yeah, I mean, well, look at it this way, right? You know how
kind of bummed that he didn't talk to us, which. We've been abandoned for a long time.
You know how you play American Truck Simulator and they push a new update and all of your mods break and it's really inconvenient? And then you check the patch notes and they're just like, yeah, sorry, we had to do this to keep it work. That's Islam. Islam is it's the update that adds a bit more of Colorado and also you can wind the window down now. It's very useful.
All I'm saying is that if Boniface IV had believed the dream, we would just all be Muslim now and it'd be fine.
But instead, we have to have this we just have to go to a guy in Arabia and he has various travails and like conquers and goes back and forth and so on and so forth and incorporates bits of like polytheistic cults and like Islamic Arabian mythology, which is why there's a big cube. Actually, almost every large Arabian city had a cube.
Ooh,
it's just that, yeah,
I didn't know
different colored cubes too. Yeah,
I like that.
And you would just you'd stuff them full of idols, and then our guy conquers Mecca, and he goes into the cube there, and he's like, okay, no more idols, and he just breaks all of them with a walking stick, which is extremely cool. And so that's the only one left.
I want a cube.
We could build one.
You just you got to get like planning permission for a cube.
Yeah, that's true.
The cube is kind of an engineering disaster in itself, and it keeps falling down. Like I think like this is like the 6th one at least, because it keeps falling down during earthquakes. But then also there was a time when somebody just fucking nailed it with a catapult, which you don't want to do. But
they should put some rebar in it.
Yeah.
This is not hard. You can reinforce masonry. It's either that or you keep rebuilding it.
Which is what they've been doing, yeah.
Yeah.
But like the deal with Islam is that it's very much the same through line with Christianity and with Judaism of there's one God, and it's very, very insistent about that to the point where you get to like absolutely no images because you might end up worshipping that as a god instead. So also, once again, on the fuck Jesus as God train.
To be fair, worship of Jesus Christ is idolatry.
Yep, that's right.
Yep, that's true.
If you look in the Quran about Jesus, he's this Jesus in the Quran. Yeah, Jesus in the Quran is this incredibly well-respected prophet, and then the Quranic verse about the crucifixion is like, oh, they thought he died, but he didn't because he was doing close-up magic. And so everybody just got owned. It's like, yeah, okay. He was Chris Angel's mind freak before the letter.
Oh boy.
Doing
Angel,
David
mind freak,
Blaine
yeah.
shit. All right, so
Yeah.
in Islam, you have the books called the Quran. There's
Yep.
imams. There's no booze in church or at all.
No. Well, officially.
Officially.
In practice, we all know that that's not quite the case, but that's a mortal flaw rather than a religious thing.
So those are the three legitimate Abrahamic faiths, right?
Yeah.
And for a while, it was all fine, right? Let's talk about the time before Protestantism. Now,
so you just gotta skip over the Great Schism and the Coptics and all that shit.
We're not. We didn't even mention like the Orthodox Church as a permissible.
Wrong.
Oh
yeah.
no, we are going to talk about the Orthodox Church. But
idol worship.
I see there was someone mentioned
Yeah, but they
Arianism
have the thing.
here.
They have the thing. Yeah, that was me. They have. I was going to say that the path through Catholicism to the Catholicism that we have today is not like a straight one. You have to go through the Council of Trent and the Council of Nicaea, and so on and so forth. And at every turn, there's like a guy who has an idea. And in this case, there was a guy called Arius who had an idea called Arianism, not to be confused with Arianism, which is like a Nazi thing, which is about the like personhood of God. And they kept arguing back and forth about whether God is like Jesus who is human and God who is more sort of an immortal.
Cheating.
Exactly. And so eventually you get to the Council of Trent, which sets the position that the Catholic Church still holds today, which is that Jesus is both fully divine and fully man. But there was a lot of like fist fights. I don't mean literal fist fights. Dude, like monks got in fist fights.
It's also like a whole bunch of like weird Gnostic sex cults.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
You love a sex cult.
Yes. Because before we'd really established the church, so it was fine. All right. So we'll talk about the early church here. So as I mentioned before, God had delegitimized the chain of command through Muhammad and caused confusion, right?
Yeah, for sure. Or if you want the partisan Muslim thing, it's that God had clarified through Muhammad, and then a bunch of these idiots were like, no, this guy's wrong, and had yet to be conquered.
Either way, through either interpretation, we know that as a result, the church fell into decadence and corruption, right?
Of course, sure.
Shocking. Yes.
The fall of the Western Roman Empire caused the church to informally split. It was led by several patriarchs initially. There's one in Rome. Where's my John Madden pen? Rome's somewhere up here.
It's up there.
Just literal John Madden.
Yeah.
Rome gets the snap.
There's one in Constantinople, right? There's one down here in Alexandria. There was another patriarch in Jerusalem, which is
down there, buddy.
Down, up.
It's over there, buddy.
Where I'm seeing,
I'm seeing gracious God, bud.
Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Wait.
Do you know that Muslims used to pray facing Jerusalem instead of Mecca? Like Muhammad changed that while he was alive. He was just like, yeah, you gotta.
Where's
just put it in the middle. Just put it in the middle.
I see.
just draw. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's probably around here.
That's good enough. Yeah. I've been to Jerusalem.
There's another patriarch in Antioch.
Yeah.
Man, Antioch's north.
Mm-hmm. So
whatever. A bunch of normal guys with like enormous hats
Big
and
hats.
beards.
Oh yeah, that's important.
Yeah.
The bigger the hat, the holier you are.
So there's Antioch here, but there's also Antioch here. I don't know which one it is.
It will be the first one, I think.
Okay.
I don't know.
I don't know. So there were 5 patriarchs, right?
Yeah.
But by 661 AD, the Muslims had conquered all of this shit, right?
Love this song. Love this song. Yes, my jam.
So
the Rashidun Caliphate.
Muhammad is the one that's in Turkey, by the way, is the Antioch.
So like Muhammad is dead by this point.
Yes.
And it is like Sunni and Shia also don't quite exist yet. We're talking about the 4 righteously guided caliphs who are Ali, who will later go on to be the Shia's guy, Umar, Uthman, and do not remember the 4th one. Embarrassing. But either way, they conquer all this territory. Uthman's the one who writes down the Quran for the first time, which previously just had not been done. And the only thing I know about Umar is that he was apparently like notoriously ugly. There's a hadith about him causing a woman to miscarry by looking at her. It's weird.
Jesus.
You don't got to believe all the hadiths. Let me put it that way.
A face that sent 1,000 ships the other way.
Turn it around, boys. Turn it around, boys.
Yeah. All right. So now we only have 2 patriarchs that matter, right? In Constantinople and in Rome, right? So they're like, okay, we're in charge of the church now. But of course, the patriarch in Constantinople is also in charge of political stuff as well as religious stuff, right?
Yeah, he's still a Roman too, because there's still the Eastern Roman Empire, which you may know, like fans of Paradox games may know as the Byzantine Empire, but they thought of themselves as Romans.
Yes.
So, all right, so these 2 sides of the church, these 2 patriarchs start rubbing up against each other in uncomfortable ways over the next couple of years. Yes.
I'm sure we could have found a photo of the patriarch.
Real gross. Yeah.
Oh god.
Shaking hands with the Pope. Yeah.
I will provide a picture of my self-drawn patriarch fanfic. He calls me father, but I call him daddy. Go on.
Oh god. Oh my god.
Have you seen my favorite patriarch thing, which is that the patriarch of I think it's the Metropolitan of Moscow has on his hat, his cross that he has on top of the hat folds down, and so when he gets into his car, a guy like comes up behind him and folds down the little cross so he doesn't donk it on the car roof.
Oh, that's great.
It's adorable.
That's great. All right, so this is the era when like dumb shit's happening in the church, like one of the eras where dumb shit's happening in the church. Yeah, I was about to say a lot of dumb shit happened, but this was the Cadaver Synod happened during this era, right?
I love that story.
Yeah.
Pope Stephen VI had his 7th month's deceased predecessor, Pope Formosus, dug up and put on trial for reasons I don't remember what they are. It doesn't even matter what they are. It's just like they put a cadaver on trial.
Stuff.
Yes.
But my favorite thing is that like when they put him in a chair and then they had a priest behind it just yell answers. So they cross-examined him, and then this guy behind the chair was just doing like ventriloquism on a skeleton. It's like, because I was evil.
No, it wasn't a priest. It was a deacon.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, they got someone a little lower on the totem pole.
You have to put your hand up in the pelvis and like just flap the jaw around.
Sounds like Kermit the Frog.
Yeah, when they convicted him, he did that like arm flailing thing.
Yeah, you know.
This is the level of sensitivity you can expect going forward as we talk about Protestantism.
We're learned scholars of theology.
That's right. Well, after nominating ourselves all as doctors in the atmospheric railway, we're doctors of divinity now too.
Yes.
Yep.
You can buy one for $45 from the Universal Life Church.
I almost went to rabbinical school, baby. I'm ready.
All right, so there was the schism of 1054, right? That's when the church finally split into the Roman Catholic Church and the Eastern Orthodox Church, right?
Monk fights.
Yes. So, Roman Catholics over here, Eastern Orthodox is over here.
Yeah. And the fight was basically about being normal, in that the Roman Catholic Church wanted to do it and the Eastern Orthodox Church didn't.
Yeah.
They wanted to like grow beards down to their knees and like get a big broom
Literal
that you can like
idol
throw holy
worship.
water on people with. And build big gold screens halfway across their churches. Just normal stuff. Normal, cool stuff. Pray with a rope somehow.
Pope's not head of all the churches.
Yeah.
What other shit did they come out with?
Lots of like weird Greek theological terms with like diacritical marks, like homoousios, where like which means like same substance. So that Jesus, the mortal dude, is made of the same stuff as God is, despite the fact that he's also a human.
Cheating.
Yeah. And monasticism.
The Orthodox don't accept Augustine, right? Because
Nope.
St. Augustine was absolutely full of shit. Every single one of the St. Augustines has been full of shit.
They also have, they're also big into like monasticism in a weirder way than Catholics. So like Catholic monasticism, might be isolative, or you might have like, you can just make booze for people and have like a vegetable garden and be kind of chill. You can teach in a school. Whereas Orthodox monasticism is like, me and all of my bros live on this mountain and we put up a big no girls allowed sign. And it holds up for 600 years. It's called Mount Athos. It's in Greece. They do not let female animals onto the mountain.
Wow. That sounds like a lot of effort.
It's wild stuff.
I mean, it sounds like one of our parties in college. So, yeah,
that's true. That's true. So the church splits, and eventually they start crusading each other, right? And they start crusading the Muslims, and the Muslims crusade back.
I love
baby.
like the passive voice there of being like an officer involved shooting, but it's like with a sword.
Yeah,
there's a crusader involved. Crusading.
Oh yeah, if your dumb school or dumb team still calls itself the Crusaders, A, and B, change the name.
Change it to jihadis.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's right. That's right. The Muslims weren't crusading; they were jihading. But
yeah.
the various Christians were definitely crusading each other as well as everyone else.
True. That's true. They sacked Venice.
Yes, they blew up the Parthenon.
Yeah, so, just incredible stuff.
So everyone's unhappy, right? God eventually realizes his fuck up, I assume, but was too embarrassed to help out.
Just like, oh boy,
I shouldn't have done that.
No.
That's gone poorly.
I don't think they needed another prophecy.
You know what it is?
It's just like tugging on his sleeve. God, they're doing it again.
Yeah, you know what it is? It's when you play a 4X game and you leave it unpaused and go do something else. You come back and you look and you're like, they're doing what?
It's probably closer to the Dwarf Fortress.
Yeah.
All right. So, but things got stupider. Let's
We're
go
to do that.
The late Middle Ages in the Roman Catholic Church, right? So we got to introduce the concept of indulgences, right? The idea is, if you sin in Catholicism and you confess, you're not going to go to hell. You are going to go to purgatory, right? For a defined period of time. We don't know what that is exactly, right? But the late medieval church comes up with an idea called the indulgence, right?
Yeah, it was an innovative startup that like had a poor reception.
Indulge.me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, initially it wasn't, a direct monetary compensation, but it became that. And the idea was that, you buy this indulgence. Sometimes you had to go on a pilgrimage too, but sometimes you just buy it. And they would take X amount of years off of purgatory, right? And
that rules. It's like those time saver packs you get on those like big open world games where they're like, we'll just tell you where all the collectibles are. Yeah, love a Ubisoft Catholic Church.
And these things were incredibly, inconsistently denominated. Like, it'd be like, oh yeah, we'll take 20,000 years off your purgatory for this amount. We'll take 6 months off for this amount. We'll take 45,000 years off. No one, because obviously it's made up, right? And there were slogans to market these things like, as soon as a coin in the coffer rings, a soul from purgatory springs.
It's catchy.
But they still
I like
have
this.
to go to purgatory. That's not even right.
Yeah, but purgatory isn't supposed to be bad, right? It's just chill. It's just there. It's chill vibes. Yeah, you sit there and you think about what you've done.
Yeah. See, we don't have heaven, so
Yeah. Sounds easier.
Yeah. You just fucking die. I don't give a shit what Jewish mysticism says or the ultra-Orthodox have to say about it. You just fucking die, okay? You just fucking die, and you go in the ground, and then people sit Shiva for a week, and they talk shit on your dead body behind your back. That's Judaism.
we have heaven, but it's like there's a bunch of weird hadith that you can either choose to believe or not about like stuff like lakes of perfume, which to me sounds like it's like no,
it's an express trip to Allergy Town.
Yeah, it's about to say, you seen a perfume factory? Ugh.
Yeah, it's also where you get the 72 virgins thing. Is that you get attended by
many people.
About to say, that sounds like a lot of work.
Yeah. It's but like I believe the idea is you're just like kind of chilling in these like rivers of milk and honey and stuff and like being fed grapes and stuff. I don't know. It sounds
hedonism bot,
nice.
Baby. Yeah, you can do full
you get
Roman
to do
Emperor
hedonism
thing.
bot shit. Yeah.
So, these indulgences were pretty aggressively marketed. They're a great way to raise money for the church. And there were even like people went out and counterfeited indulgences to try and sell them to people.
I hate to die and then like go to purgatory for like N,000 years because I bought a bunch of indulgences and I didn't check too closely.
And God's just like, what is this shit?
it fell off the back of a truck.
The angel gets up the marker and holds it up to the light,
Is it real? Well, can you try again? No.
Yeah, you just like you get the like fucking Scorsese montage where they're like selling cigarettes out the back of a truck, but it's indulgences. The good old days,
If only God had Cash App.
You have to call in the manager and like they have to like take your years off of purgatory and like attach it to the guy who sold you the fake indulgence. Like,
you can just stay here for a minute. We'll get this cleaned up, okay, sir? And you just try to go to purgatory.
Yeah, but it like takes like half a day. So in addition to indulgences, this is not the only sort of dumb corruption in the church at this time, right? So 1303, Pope Boniface VIII.
Oh boy.
Gets himself killed by the French. When he tried to,
when that happens.
Yeah, because he tried to excommunicate Philip IV in a power grab. Right.
Yeah, baby, French strike again.
Come at the king, you best not miss.
Yeah, exactly.
Or we'll kill the fucking Pope.
We'll kill the Pope, yeah.
So they didn't actually kill him, they just imprisoned him and he died of disease 3 days afterwards.
Sounds like out of spite. Just like I'm gonna get disease.
Suck a dick, I'm fucking dying.
Yeah. I'm gonna get this leper to just cough on me and like rub me and stuff.
At this point, the cardinals, right? The cardinals being the various archbishop, high-ranking clergy,
Yeah, guys in red.
Yes,
who
guys
you
in
call
red.
your eminence.
Yes.
They have very, very stylish hats.
Mm-hmm. They're about half French and half Italian.
Oh, fuck.
Yes, same as it fucking ever was then.
Yeah, yes, and their job is to elect the next pope. So they elect a French guy, Clement V, right?
Woo!
And he decides to move the Holy See from Rome to Avignon.
Well, you didn't fuck that up.
That's what
Fuck being Bishop of Rome.
That's the building we're looking at right now. Is the Papal Palace in Avignon, I believe.
Spiky.
The Avignon papacy is around for a long time. It's full of extremely corrupt and dumb popes. There's a whole bunch of them because popes didn't last long back then.
But I repeat myself.
Yes. They are very submissive to the French crown, though.
Kinky.
Politically, financially.
Yes.
I don't know.
Look, popes get into some weird sex shit. The Rome popes at this point.
Yeah.
Can we talk about the Feast of the Chestnuts, where you just like dump a bunch of chestnuts over the floor and then have a bunch of prostitutes like crawl naked after them? It's just like, well, there's a bunch of
supposedly
allegedly parody in a video game in Minecraft that happened. But I mean, one thing that is uncontroversial is the number of popes who like got married or had kids or made
the Wikipedia article for a list of sexually active popes.
Yeah, you can help by expanding it, or groomed their kid to be pope after them, or like bought the papacy. There's a reason why, not to come back to Dante's Inferno again, but one of the big sins that he identifies as one called simony, which we don't really have anymore, which is selling church offices for a profit. You can just be like, hey, you want to be a cardinal? Opens like trench coat full of big red hats.
I kind of want to be that'd be like fun. I'd be a cardinal if I could.
Get Justin a beretta.
Yes.
I'll be the first podcaster pope.
It's like the young
you could
pope.
Just be pope by acclamation if you try.
That's
a good
true.
point, yeah.
You do not have to be a priest to be a pope. You have to be a dude, which sucks. But Pope Joan is a myth. Get over it. Sorry, guys. But yeah, you just have to be a Catholic dude. Anybody can do it.
So
and have testicles. True story. They used to like hoist you up on a little chair with a hole in it and check if your balls dropped through to see that you weren't a eunuch. I don't know why.
Yeah, it's like, yep, he's a dude.
Yeah.
All right, and we're back on track.
Yeah, the most normal head of religion. Yeah, you kind of get the sense of why Muslims kind of stopped trying to do the whole caliph thing after a while. I mean, there's guys who still try it, but they're all like in ISIS or whatever.
Yeah, of course they are.
Yeah,
you just
look at
dude.
you just look at this guy and he's like, yeah, I'm the caliph now. I'm in charge of you. And it goes over pretty much as well as if Justin was just like, yeah, I'm the Pope. I'm the Philadelphia Pope.
Yes.
Oh, those guys are total weirdos. Senate vacantus, baby. Oh boy.
Society of Saint Pius. Yeah. Okay, anyway, let's haul us back on track. So they've got an Avignon Pope and they've also got a Rome Pope, right?
No, not yet. I haven't gotten to that point. So Gregory the 11th down here, right? He's the first I think the first Italian Pope elected after 1305 or so, right? So this is like 1370 something when he was elected, right? And he decides, all right, this is dumb. Everyone knows it's dumb. I'm moving the Holy See back to Rome. He does that in 1377 and then dies.
How many of these guys just got murdered? It's got to be like 100%.
Well, he made it. He was, he tried. Gregory XI was he French? He was French. He was French. And then I guess it's just like, no more baguettes. We're going back to spaghetti. Get on the ground.
So after this, the cardinals are like, okay, we're back in Rome. We should stay in Rome. We should elect a Roman Pope, right? This is the smart thing to do.
Yes. Smart thing to do. Elect a Pope where you are. You don't have to commute to Avignon.
That's a hell of a commute, especially by horse or whatever.
But no, like, electable Roman Pope presented themselves, apparently. right?
Jesus, it was like the democratic primaries, you know?
Oh yeah, there's probably like a perfectly good like Roman Bernie Sanders, and they're like, that guy's not electable.
Sure. They're like, he yells too much. Can we get like the fucking like Roman equivalent of Kamala Harris? Oh no, she's dropped out. Can we get the like Roman equivalent of Corey? He's dropped out, and just went like this down the line until there was just like one senile dude left. Urban the Sixth. Listen, Jack.
Yeah, Urban the Sixth, not even from Rome. He is Italian at least, but he's not from Rome.
From Nipples.
And
he couldn't get made because he wasn't full Italian.
So, and then a bunch of cardinals who elected Urban the Sixth got buyer's remorse, right?
Yeah, they fucking hated the guy.
They're like,
He kept challenging them to push-up contests for some reason.
He got excommunicated by the French anti-pope. There's a whole bunch of shit. They almost dumped out his corpse to use the sarcophagus to water their horses. Yeah.
So the cardinals who elected Urban the Sixth, they left Rome. They went to the town of Anagni, and it's something Italian.
It's fun.
Yeah,
and they've already elected Urban the Sixth, so they decide to also elect Clement the Seventh and say, actually, our earlier vote wasn't valid because we thought it was dumb. Right?
That rules.
Yep.
Clement the Seventh decides to move the papacy back to Avignon.
But social distancing.
While Urban the Sixth still has the papacy in Rome. Right?
Sure. It would be awkward otherwise. It'd be like two-fort. You just have these two Vaticans just like kind of over the street from each other.
Just stacked on top of each other.
Yeah, I get St. Peter's Monday, Wednesday, Friday. You get it Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday.
I'm being very generous here.
What happens on Sunday?
They share.
Oh, that works.
You get like communion and stereo. Each pope gives you the wafer.
Well, that must be terrible during the homily because I'm assuming they're not that coordinated.
No.
It's in Latin anyway. I wouldn't understand it.
Latin Mass is better.
I don't think they had a homily back then. There were now two popes in two cities. And this was dumb. Everyone knew it was dumb. And of course, there's no way to reconcile this situation, right? Clement the Seventh dies. Urban the Sixth also dies. They both elect new popes, right? And then in Rome, they elect several more popes, right? But then,
oh man, Pope Gore.
Yeah. So in 1409, there was a council held in the city of Pisa, where the Leaning Tower is, right? And the idea is, all right, we're going to get rid of these two existing popes, and we're going to elect a new pope, right? But instead, they accidentally end up electing a third pope without getting rid of the popes that were already there.
Too many popes.
That's a hell of a sitcom concept. Don't steal that.
So Alexander V dies pretty quickly, so we get John the 23rd. Right? That's what that says, right? 23rd, yes.
Yeah, it's 23rd.
So in 1414, John the 23rd, he talks to Gregory the 12th, and he's like, look, we're both going to resign. We're going to put a new pope in, right?
Rationalization.
Yeah, and they try to talk to Benedict the 13th. He blanks them, right? So they convene another council. They both resign. The new pope is elected. He excommunicates Benedict the 13th. Everything is hunky-dory. It only took 50 years.
You just got to work the kinks out. That's all it is.
Yes. All right. That was the end of the Western Schism. Now, this was pretty dumb. And
Yeah, you don't say.
It really eroded the credibility of the church.
Having a guy be like, I'm the Pope, and then another guy be like, I'm also the Pope, and then a third guy being like, I'm the real Pope.
I guess I'm the Pope now.
Yeah, you shoot the Pope with the goatee. He's the fake one.
Yeah.
So it's another opportunity where God could have stepped in and he just didn't do it. I don't know why.
This happens a lot.
He's the dang Joker, and he wants to see us live in a society.
All right, a couple decades afterwards, we get this guy, Martin Luther.
This fucking asshole.
Yeah.
This piece of shit. This dumbass with his fucking floppy hat and his weird chins.
Yes.
Fucking potato face looking ass.
Aw.
Dipshit.
Martin Luther, right? He's born in 1483.
Boo! Boo!
Educated at the University of Wittenberg.
Not very well.
He got a doctor of theology out there. And, one of the things he did, he was very critical of the church. He was also critical of Jews. He did not like Jews.
No, he didn't.
No.
I'm glad that this didn't set any kind of precedent in like Christian theological thought or Germany for like any time to come afterwards.
None whatsoever. No.
I'm alive and he's dead. So who won that one?
All right. So here's some context. This is where the engineering comes in. This is the fun part. Okay. So this is Old St. Peter's, right?
Why does it have tits? What are those tits on the top left?
Oh, these?
It just has like two salt shaker things.
Oh, those are probably chapels.
No matter where I go, I see something that reminds me of her.
Old St. Peter's was, St. Peter's Basilica, right? Same site as the current St. Peter's. Supposedly where St. Peter is buried. We don't know.
Yeah, wasn't he supposed to have built it too originally?
No, Emperor Constantine built it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, in the 300s AD, right? So this was a proper Roman-style basilica, right? And a basilica, before it was a Catholic thing, was just a large public building in the Roman Empire where a public official could hold, an audience of some kind, right? They added some Christian touches, like if this were a regular Roman basilica, you wouldn't have these transepts over here, right? But otherwise, basically a Roman basilica that's converted for a religious Catholic basilica use, right? This building was standing until this era, right? It's very historic. Charlemagne was crowned there. All the popes were buried there. But while the papacy was in Avignon, no one had done any maintenance.
Oh, no.
just leave the lights on.
Yeah.
It's running up the electricity
This
bill.
is why you don't defer maintenance, as we'll see.
Just imagining the old St. Peter's building super. Just like an old guy has to like walk around with a big roll of keys.
Yeah. And then there was when the papacy was disputed, no one figured out who had the money, so we still didn't do maintenance, right?
This is still a thing with Christian sects. There's in the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, there is a ladder that like people still fight about who is allowed to move because it's divided between like the Copts and like the Catholics and the Orthodox, and so nobody moves it. There's this one ladder that's just stuck there. It looks like shit because nobody has replaced the ladder.
I've seen it with my own eyes. Yeah, they all have to agree to move it.
Someone just knock it off the ledge there. So sometime in the late 1400s, Leon Battista Alberti, right, who was a sort of Florence Renaissance guy. He did some churches, right? He did some late Gothic, early Renaissance architecture, right?
He's a church guy.
He's a church guy, yeah. It's like, yeah, I'm going to bring my church guy down. We're going to take a look at this church, right? And they sent him to write a structural report on Old St. Peter's. Like, what do we got to do to this to make it work again, right? And basically, the report he gave to the Pope was, yeah, it's fucked.
It's just like while there was an anti-pope, your regular pope's just been punching holes in all of this drywall.
Yeah,
Pope Kyle, man.
One of the big walls that was holding up the roof here, right, through the main aisleway was 6 feet out of plumb.
Ooh.
Yeah. Ooh, boy.
Yeah.
Why did they build it in the Great Dismal Swamp anyway?
Because that's where it would fit.
Because Rome's geography is not good.
Yeah, that's true.
Campus Martius, note the Martius part. That's, well, I don't know if that's March, but it's very low to the ground.
It is of the god Mars, but
of
yes.
the god Mars. Oh, well, you know, but it was still like, it flooded a lot.
Sure. I don't know. We can probably just, but this is the Patreon thing. We can just talk absolute bullshit. We can be like, and that's where we get the word marsh, and no one can contradict us because they paid to listen to this.
I was about to say, yeah, that's a good point.
That we're wrong, they're owned.
Yes. Yeah, you paid $2 for us to say something wrong. This is on you. So Pope Julius II was originally like pretty gung-ho, like, yeah, we're gonna fix the building, yeah, it's gonna be great. And he gets this report and he's like, oh boy, get the bulldozers.
Everybody's a conservationist until they get the estimate.
Yeah, exactly. So
he was just like, can we do the Vancouver thing where we like keep the front foot of the facade and then just build a new thing behind it?
Oh, facadomy.
There are some tiny bits of this basilica that are still around, but they're like buried underneath. I think there's like parts of the crypt are still there, and some of the ornamentation was
that's
saved.
so cool. I want to do Lara Croft shit. Like I want to like swing across a bunch of like banners and like ancient mechanisms and shit to find those.
So Julius II commits to demolishing Old St. Peter's, which is a major controversy in all of Christendom because this is like an 1,100-year-old building. He also orders the Colosseum to be demolished to provide stone for the new church. They don't quite get through with that one.
I love, well, isn't that why it's not symmetrical still? Why it's not like a big circle? Because they just took a chunk off of the top.
That's a lot of Roman ruins. It was kind of like, yeah, we'll just use these as a quarry.
Very cool. Very cool.
The difficult part about this is, okay, we got to finance our new fancy church, the new St. Peter's Basilica. How are we going to finance it?
It pulls big button, big lever marked indulgences.
Yes.
Yep.
We're going to sell a shitload of indulgences, guys. We're going to sell so many fucking indulgences that we're going to build the largest church the world will see for 500 years. So that's what they did. So
bidding process for architectural renovation gets out of hand, accidentally creates Protestantism.
So in order to finance the new St. Peter's, they send out, various clergy, including a friar who goes to the town Martin Luther was in, to sell all these indulgences. And Martin Luther gets mad about this, and he writes to his bishop, right? Because that's what you do when you're mad. You write to your local official.
Yeah, and of course Luther was this letter-writing crank.
Yes. Yeah, he's a poster, but like...
Dear Sir.
Dear Richard.
Why is this in green ink?
This letter became known as... this was Disputation of Martin Luther on the Power and Efficacy of Indulgences, or the 95 Theses.
Or the 95 Theses.
Just write one thesis.
Yeah, indulgences are dumb. That's the
thesis
one thesis.
Fuck indulgences. That's in 72-point fracture. Everything else, the Bible.
All right, you've summed up Protestantism. We're done here.
Well, bye, everybody.
Congratulations, Al.
Yeah. The story that he nailed the 95 Theses to the door of All Saints Church in Wittenberg may or may not be real. We don't know.
You don't say.
Also, boring. Don't care.
Yeah, exactly. He produced a couple other writings which are critical of the church, and since the printing press had just been invented, these writings started circulating through Germany, right? Pretty far and wide. And he starts, he's a doctor of theology. He does a lot of Bible study. And through Bible study, he comes up with the concept of sola fide, right? That's
fucking dumb bullshit.
Salvation by faith alone, right? Which is bullshit, of course.
Yeah. It is in contrast to the Catholic thing of salvation by works, where you have to like do good stuff. The faith is important and in fact essential, but you have to like do the good stuff instead of just being like doing whatever you were going to do anyway and then being like, well, I'm saved, so whatever.
I mean, like the idea initially is like the good works are supposed to come through faith, but this gets corrupted over time. We'll get to that. So okay. Now the Pope gets mad about this because he's being criticized, right? Since Martin Luther won't recant, Martin Luther gets excommunicated on January 3rd, 1520, right?
Sucks to suck.
Yeah.
And kill shot.
Yep.
Gets the little hit marker up on the screen, the little red X.
And that's when Protestantism happened.
But not so good.
Yeah, so he was excommunicated. He wasn't civilly prosecuted yet. And that's where we get to the diet of worms.
Diet of worms.
I know. It's for
Is
the
that why you
joke.
said it wrong?
It's funny.
Nothing's funny.
It's funny to say diet of worms.
Okay, fine.
That's true. This motherfucker eating worms.
Yeah.
So at the diet of worms, like Martin Luther's basically has to show up and stand trial before the Holy Roman Emperor, right? They're taking this shit seriously, I guess. He wouldn't recant his text before secular authorities, so they're like, all right,
We're gonna bring in the big guns.
Yeah.
You're an outlaw now.
Oh, it's thick.
Once again, we put the hit marker up. It's like snipes fucking KD of 0-2.
Rough.
So who put more notes here?
Yeah, he's like
Alice,
what he says in German is "Hier stehe ich kann nicht anders," which is like fuck you. I'm not like actually you're the asshole, and like you're lucky I'm on parole and my kid's here. And at least I raised my kids. And this sort of starts this tradition of, you can see it on like murals in Protestant areas of Belfast. And it basically sets off this tradition of Protestant intransigence that goes all the way through to, say, not quarantining your megachurch.
Oh my God.
Gross.
Yeah. Cool stuff.
All right, so it took him a while to determine whether he was going to be an outlaw or not. And that time, Martin Luther decided to leave, and he gets smuggled into Wartburg Castle.
just a series of very comical names here.
That's all
This
of
is all
Germany.
like towns from The Witcher. Yeah. It's like it's all towns from The Witcher where a guy with one eyebrow just like yells at you about how like a lich has stolen the bucket that he shits in.
As you do.
So that was Wartburg Castle was Prince Frederick III of Saxony's, right? And then he decides to go ahead and he's going to translate the Bible into German. Then regular people can read it and also come up with the idea of sola fide.
And also introduce a bunch of errors into it which weren't there in the first place because it's already been translated into the Koine Greek and then to the Latin.
Yes.
And now just some guy is going to do it by candlelight in German.
Yeah,
Cool.
Because the Catholic Church had strongly discouraged translating the Bible, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you're going to do heresy.
Yeah, people are going to come up with sola fide, which is stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like you gotta you don't do your own X-rays. You gotta have a priest in there with you to like help you interpret the thing. Well, actually, I think this shadow on the lung is totally fine. It shows that I'm cool, actually.
Martin Luther wasn't the only reformist of this era. He certainly inspired a bunch. He wasn't the only one. So there were other more extreme reformists than him. Anabaptists and so on and so forth. He preached a bunch of dangerous stuff like equality and seizing the church's wealth and stuff like that, right? So this is when Martin Luther starts his career as an opportunist, right? So,
but like he's already writing, he's doing his translation in like a prince's castle. So clearly he's got some friends in high places.
Just a few, yeah. So, okay, so eventually Martin Luther sneaks back to Wittenberg. He helps quell a popular rebellion by the Anabaptists, who were, very, very, very much radical folks, right?
Yes.
Yeah, very threatening to the ruling class. And he starts to cement his place as the reformer who's acceptable to the ruling class, right?
Because the ruling class are all like, yes, the church does have too much power and wealth. You know who doesn't have too much power and wealth and could use some of their power and wealth?
The petit bourgeois.
Is this guy right over here. Yeah.
Luther even goes so far as to like do writings about how he's like, it's the duty of the nobles and so on and so forth to put down the rebellion.
I'd love to hear about Germans and their duties. Thankfully, I assume that won't end poorly for me.
Yeah. My favorite detail about Martin Luther is that while he was still a Catholic, he was such a crank that his confessor, the priest that he confessed to, got so annoyed with him because he just would not leave him alone. He was literally doing the like Ned Flanders thing of calling Reverend Lovejoy in the middle of the night, asking whether like snoring is sinful. Just incredibly, just by all accounts, just a nice guy.
All right, so while this is going on, he's also, a lot of regular folks in the church are like, okay, maybe this is all bullshit. I'm gonna follow this Martin Luther guy. Apart from the more radical folks who are like, man, I don't like this guy now. He eventually married a nun who wanted to get out of a convent.
That's hot.
It's then, fucking like Holy Roman Empire Vegas wedding chapel shit.
Yeah. And he started a new church, which, they did the Augsburg Confession, the Book of Concord, blah, 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 blah. There's now Lutheranism, right? But now, of course, everyone thinks they can start a new church. So we should talk about a few of them.
Well, they kind of can. Yeah.
Yes, this is true.
Thanks for nothing, Martin.
You can just, just total democracy. You can just do whatever the fuck you want.
Yes.
I'm the Pope. You're the Pope.
Everybody is a Pope. All right, so let's start with one here. So this is Lutheranism.
Oh, Marxist-Leninists.
Right? Yeah, Marxist-Leninist. Yes. Well, Marx did cite Martin Luther in Capital at least once, because when Martin Luther was yelling about usury.
Great. Yeah. Wonder who that was targeted at.
I'm sure there was no ulterior motive there. Yeah.
So
Martin Luther doing tropes there.
Jackass.
All right. So Lutherans, right? They got sola fide, salvation by faith alone. You don't got to do works. Presumably you do works if you have faith, but whatever.
You said do.
God.
Yeah, why would you do works? That's just like you've already got the speed run set up.
You're baptized into the faith as a child. That contrasts with the Anabaptists of the era, who are like, you can't make that decision until you have some amount of cognitive ability.
Anabaptist means do not Baptist, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Do not Baptist 01.
Yes.
Oh, R.I.P.
Yep. In the communion, you're supposed to give people the bread and the wine. Supposed to the Catholic Church, which is just doing the bread at this point. The clergy can marry. The confessions shouldn't make you feel bad.
Sucks. That's half the point of confession.
Should we just go down like a Philly sports crowd and just yell sucks whenever we hear anything we don't like?
Yeah. Clergy
just throwing batteries at the preacher.
Yeah. All right. Fasting is stupid.
Sucks.
Monks are stupid.
Sucks.
Clergy shouldn't be given civil or military positions through the church.
Sucks, I guess. Kind of confused.
Sola fide is not supposed to diminish the importance of good works, but obviously does by definition.
Sucks.
Yeah. All right. So
okay, so that's the ML.
That's Marxism, Lutheranism. Yes.
Oh boy.
I'm gonna grab another beer. Actually, I'll be right back.
Oh,
It's a
great.
long episode.
In that case, I'm gonna grab Coke or something. So me too.
You people, learn to prepare. Hi, and welcome back to Protestantism chat. I have another joke for you. So there's a rabbi and a priest discussing the faiths that they belong to respectively, and the rabbi asks the priest, where do you see yourself going? And the priest says, well, maybe one day I could be a bishop. And
Liam, are you just talking to yourself?
No, I'm telling a joke. And and the rabbi presses him and says, well, what about after that? And the priest says, well, maybe I could even be archbishop, if I work hard and go up the ladder. And the rabbi still is not satisfied, and he says, but what about after that? What about after that? And he says, well, I could even be pope one day, maybe I can be pope. And the rabbi still is not satisfied and says, well, what about after that? And the priest finally snaps and says, what more do you want me to be? Jesus himself? And the rabbi says, well, one of our boys made it.
Well, in addition to Martin Leninism, there were other reformations going on simultaneously, such as Calvinism.
Oh, fuck.
Right?
It sucks.
Mm-hmm.
So there was just a battery just getting whipped at one of these guys' heads.
So there was this guy with a very difficult to pronounce name.
Huldrych Zwingli.
Oh,
Extremely cool guy.
Oh, no.
Yeah. He moved to Zurich and he just kind of started doing his own thing because Swiss people are surrounded by like a ring of impenetrable mountains, and also they all hate all non-Swiss people. So it was a pretty easy sell to just be like, hey, you want to not be Catholic?
There's some nice trains over there, though.
Yeah, that is true.
Mm-hmm. Other than that, though, So, all right. So Zwingli starts combing through the Bible to figure out what shouldn't be used in the Mass.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, quite literally a fundamentalist.
Yes.
If it's not in the Bible, then you don't fucking do it. And the fact that the Bible may not have been very well adapted to 17th century Switzerland, whatever.
Turns out the Bible doesn't say very much about the Mass at all. But Zwingli interprets this to say that, the way you should worship God, you shouldn't be singing, shouldn't use music, shouldn't have an organ.
No fun.
No fun. Yeah, exactly.
No fun.
He's definitely part of the no fun crew, which for some reason is extremely appealing in this era. Everyone was having way too much fun in the 16th century.
Bad fucking Christmas, so...
Yeah, my favorite detail about the following Swiss wars of religion is that at least one guy got assassinated during a carnival by a guy disguised in a bear costume.
Oh, that's funny.
That's literally a plot in a James Bond movie too.
Yeah, but also that clip in fucking the Wicker Man remake where Nicolas Cage in the bear costume just fucking socks a lady like that, but with a knife.
Oh fuck! Okay, well,
yeah.
One of the things that set the Calvinists apart from the Lutherans and the Catholics was how they viewed the sacrament of the Eucharist, right? It's the part where you eat the little a piece of bread that tastes like cardboard, right?
Yeah, this is my body, this is my blood, except
yes. So
if you're a Calvinist, that's a metaphor.
It's a metaphor, yes, as opposed to
transmutation or whatever.
It's transubstantiation.
Oh, whatever,
yes,
dude.
Yes.
Yeah. If you're a Catholic, you believe as an article of faith that when it is part of the sacrament, the little cookie, the little wafer, becomes the body of Christ through magic.
Oh,
yes.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Yeah, I'm the crazy one. Okay.
But in Calvinism, it's cis-substantiation.
Yeah, which means it has like really uneven bangs.
Yeah.
Oh, God, turf bags. Fuck.
They called it sacramentalism, which is bizarre because that now means the opposite of that. Like sacramentalism now is like you have a really extreme belief in the efficacy of the sacraments. Back then, sacramentalism meant you didn't actually think the bread was Jeebus himself.
Yeah.
So this was this was a started by the man with the complicated to pronounce name, but a man with a much easier to pronounce name named John Calvin fleshed out the ideas a bunch in Geneva,
sucks.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, and like this is the thing, because you could basically just like roll into a city in Switzerland and decide that it was your own personal theocracy. Calvin just kind of did this in Geneva. Zwingli did this in Zurich. There was a bunch of other like more obscure ones, and so like all of Switzerland at this point was like this patchwork of like weird guys who just like decided that we got to do church like this now.
Yeah, is anyone at Interlaken yet? Opportunity awaits.
Yeah.
But as a result, Calvinism is a very broad set of beliefs. But, you know, one thing that really unites them, in addition to like seeing the Eucharist as a metaphor, is predestination.
Are we saved? Are you saved? Are we all saved?
Hell
here?
no, son.
Well, we know
I
for
guess.
certain we're predestined to be saved, right?
Yes.
Under Calvinism. Yeah.
We are predestined to be saved or not, and that is a function solely of our faith, which is like assigned to us by God.
So I can just do whatever you want, whatever I want, is what you're telling me.
Yeah, because you're an NPC.
Cool.
It's very much like the 4chan thing. You don't have an inner life. You're just kind of like executing a series of like programs here.
That is true. I mean, basically, under Calvinism, you are an NPC.
Yeah,
and so
you know what we should do when we edit this is we should put the NPC face onto John Calvin on that statue.
Yeah. So there's like generally accepted to be like 5 points of Calvinism, right? There's number 1, total depravity, right?
Yes.
I think I saw them open for Children of Bodom.
So all people are enslaved to sin. They're all affected by original sin.
Yep.
People are unable to not sin, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I get. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Number 2 is unconditional election, right?
Oh, super
Did
delegates.
you hear?
Yes.
Oh, I thought you said uncontested direction. I was very confused.
If your election persists for 6 or more hours, see a physician.
No, that's actually that's how the 2016 Democratic primaries went. Predestination. There was unconditional election.
It's not a coronation. It's not a coronation. We're all the idiots.
No, it was Calvinist.
Yeah, remember, there is no Democratic Party establishment.
Yes.
Sure. Why not?
So unconditional election means God figured out who to save well in advance, based entirely on his mercy, absent any other conditions, right? You know?
Yes, but crucially, it's not universalism, which means it's not everybody, and it's not even almost everybody. It's a select group, which means you can look at a lot of people and be like, whatever they tell you or whatever they do, they go to hell.
Yes. Then there's limited atonement, right?
That's me, baby.
Yes. So Jesus died for our sins, but only for a specific amount of our sins.
Yeah, it's like access to healthcare, right? You have universal access to forgiveness.
This is the ACA, but for religion.
If you like your religion, you can keep it.
No, you better convert to Calvinism, or you're probably
I'm not gonna fucking do that. So
you haven't been amongst the elect. So one phrase you sometimes hear is the atonement is sufficient for all and efficient for the elect.
Okay, cool, I guess.
Yeah, I've definitely heard that. Yeah, I've heard that. That's a thing I've heard.
Yeah. Love to hear that.
Yeah.
There's that thing that people are saying more and more.
Yes. So then there's irresistible grace, right?
Well,
Oh,
sure.
my wrestling name.
Yeah. If you are among the elect, you cannot resist God's call, right?
Because you're an NPC. You're a good NPC, but you're an NPC. Just an NPC with a halo.
Yeah.
Not to be confused with actual Halo NPCs.
Perseverance of the saints, right? Since God is sovereign and his will cannot be frustrated by humans or anyone else,
Not with that
those
attitude.
whom God has called into communion with himself will continue in faith until the end, right? You cannot cause someone who is among the elect to not go to heaven, whatever you do.
Try me.
So there is no apostasy possible. If you leave Calvinism, you were just never in the first place.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes, those who apparently fall
rules.
away either never had true faith to begin with, or if they are saved but not presently walking in the Spirit, they will be divinely chastened and will repent.
Uh-huh.
Oh man, I love to like cover all of the angles there.
That's a very good and nuanced understanding of human nature, and I see no problem with it.
Yes. We are all NPCs.
I do not like Calvinist theology. If that wasn't
Yeah,
obvious.
it's pretty fucking bad.
Yeah. And it's split into a wide variety of churches. A couple of modern day ones are, the Continental Reformed, the Presbyterians, the Evangelical, Anglicans, Congregationalists, Reformed Baptists, bunch of weird stuff, right? Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Then another Protestant church which emerged was Anglicanism.
Sucks.
Which is just a Catholic church, but they let the patriarch give Henry VIII a divorce.
Yeah, and then it drove England completely insane is the thing. Because the thing is about English people is we love persecuting people. And so we started persecuting Catholics. If you look at English architecture, because a bunch of our nobility and regular people, when Henry VIII just decided, okay, we're doing our own church thing, were like, fuck that, we're staying Catholic. And because that was illegal, they had to be Catholic in secret, which meant you had undercover Jesuits being smuggled in to do sacraments and stuff from the continent. And there was this guy who used to go from house to house building priest holes for little sort of concealed chambers for priests to live in when the authorities searched the houses and stuff.
Just walking down the street with a cart with a bunch of shovels in it. Priest holes. Get your priest holes.
Yeah. This is the reason why your walls would be 6 feet out of whack, is because there'd just be a bunch of Jesuits hiding behind there like raccoons.
Get your priest holes. Refer a neighbor, get a deacon hole free.
So not to get too into the wars of religion and everything, but the big rival of England at this time is Spain. The King of Spain, Philip II, styles himself His Most Catholic Majesty, if you want a sense of what his vibe is.
Sucks.
And he tries to invade England. It goes poorly. That's the Spanish Armada. And that kind of drives English people a bit more insane about Catholics. And then, a few years after that, a bunch of Catholic terrorists try to blow up the king and parliament with gunpowder, and that drives us all slightly more insane. And so, there's this absolute terror of Catholics and Catholicism that kind of still persists a little bit today. It's cool. And in the meanwhile, Anglicanism has just become this kind of milquetoast, kind of it's Catholic, kinda, but also not really. It's very weird and bad.
Look, I saw V for Vendetta. Y'all deserved it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Guido Fawkes did nothing wrong. May have been in like the Catholic equivalent of Al Qaeda, but like still.
What if Guy Fawkes came back, but then like blew up Jeremy Corbyn? Then we'd have a different
that's true.
opinion.
We would.
Yeah.
We would. Owned by logic.
Yes. Shit. Again.
So much for the tolerant left.
Mm-hmm. Guy Fawkes turns out to be a tanky.
Well, like he fought for the Spanish in the Netherlands in the wars of religion there. So he's just kind of like the like guy. He like joined the YPG, you know, like a Rojava guy,
like a weird tanky Rojava guy.
Yeah, for sure.
So I pick and choose my ideologies. I just have to be extreme as possible. All right.
Oh, good. We get to talk about Scotland. I put this slide in. So Scotland, one of the themes that's going to emerge is that Anglicanism is like, it's a form of Protestantism that a lot of Protestants get very unhappy with. In many ways, just because it's Catholicism with the serial numbers filed off and the king can get a divorce. Whereas what Scotland really likes Protestantism. It really likes Presbyterianism, which is largely thanks to the work of a guy called John Knox, who preaches. There's a bunch of big statues up of him everywhere. And one of the things he preaches is no bishops. One of the things that the Church of England preaches is bishops.
Sucks.
Like, you have the bishop, but instead of the Pope deciding who the bishop is, the head of the Church of England, who is the king, can decide who the bishop is. And that gives him an enormous amount of power, and people don't like it. People think, well, what the fuck did we get rid of the Catholics for if just some asshole just decides that the guy gets a fancy hat and like he still gets a fancy throne and everything? Instead of like, we just all like elected like an elder or something. So that's Presbyterianism. And so when the king, there's now one king, it's James I and VI, because he's king of England and Scotland. He tries to introduce Anglicanism. He tries to like centralize it and systematize it with something called the Book of Common Prayer, which is like a sort of like a menu of services that you go through. And they the first time they tried to preach this at St. Giles Cathedral in Edinburgh, a woman called Jenny Geddes did the most WWE thing possible and threw a folding chair at the pulpit. And that's what you see here on the left.
Nice.
It's literally like a folding stool and started a riot. Because it was English and it was Catholic. It wasn't, but whatever. And this sets off the Scottish Wars of Religion, and you get a bunch of like very, very angry Presbyterians who basically just kind of start doing ISIS shit. The second, they're big into iconoclasm is the thing, right? Because having decorations in your church is fun. You know what fun is? Catholic. No fun.
Yeah, that's some of the Scottish shit I've ever heard. Go on.
Yeah. Absolutely no fun. And so like this fucked up column that you're looking at is in Glasgow Cathedral, and what it is that used to have a big like altarpiece of one of the Stations of the Cross on it, because they all did, and they just went in there and they just crowbarred that shit off the wall. If you look in the crypt of Glasgow Cathedral, there's a bunch of bishops who are buried in like medieval style where they have the like stone effigy over the tomb, and all of the faces and stuff have just been chiseled off by a guy who was like, no fun. The door into the sacristy of Glasgow Cathedral has a bunch of fucking bullet holes in it still from like 17th century muskets, because these guys were terrifying. And they won, right? Like ISIS won that one. The Scottish Wars of Religion were like thoroughly dominated by Presbyterianism, to the point where it's still the capital C, capital S Church of Scotland is a Presbyterian organization. And you would think perhaps that this would make Scottish Protestants very happy. You have your own not Catholic, not fun, not English church, and of course it didn't. There was immediately a massive schism. Which which led to there was the Free Church of Scotland, which is like more intense, and then there's another Free Church of Scotland called the Wee Frees, because they're small. And to give you an example of how intense they are, like the one story that I know about them is they hired a guy to like redo the car park outside one of their churches, and he laid some gravel on a Sunday, and for the next 20 years the entire congregation boycotted their own car park. They just like refused to use it.
Wow.
Jesus fucking Christ, dude.
Very normal people. Yeah, so that
Did they still pay the guy?
I assume, as far as I know.
It's like,
but
I'm
like,
fine. Sure, whatever.
Incidentally, for a through line with like megachurches, they also refused to do social isolation, but they did kind of this like inadvertent burn on themselves, where they put out the statement and they said, well, the government has said that they should ban all large gatherings. We don't get a lot of large gatherings in our congregations, so we're probably fine.
Supper, this is rare.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's Scotland. We're a very normal country, and there's absolutely no like lingering prejudice in relation to Catholics or Protestants here still.
Yeah, the weird thing is that my mom's side of the family is Presbyterian. My dad's side of the family is Catholic. But my dad's side of the family is the really conservative one. And my mom's side of the family is like the more liberal kind. I was like, this isn't how this is supposed to work religion-wise, but, you know, whatever. I'm glad I can drink bourbon in the open in the South, at least.
just so long as nobody's like throwing folding chairs around is the thing.
Yes, exactly.
My favorite part of your ventures down south, Roz, is the live updates on however your holidays are going, usually disastrously. And I'm just like glued to my phone as you're complaining about nothing. And I'm just like, I'm here for it, baby.
That time my aunt gave my brother too much bourbon.
Killed your brother. I forgot about that.
Yeah, my brother threw up, and then my dad decided to start screaming at me.
The rules.
Yeah, and I forgot you were also responsible for 9/11. Yeah,
you know, I was like, no, I definitely gave my brother all this bourbon. I'm a horrible person. I also did 9/11 and the Holocaust. I believe that was Christmas Eve, if I recall correctly. I literally said that.
I remember just getting that Facebook message and being like, all right, I'm gonna go wrangle up the GTI like before he kills anybody.
Fire up the Quattro. Yeah.
You didn't have the GTI at that point.
Did I
had
I had my mom's Subaru.
No, it was before that even.
What the hell did I have? Was it the Mazda?
It was the Mazda, yes.
Oh God.
Mm-hmm. Good times in Lexington, Virginia. All right. All right. So what other kinds of Protestantism do we have? Well, we have the Counter-Reformation, right?
Much fun.
Yes.
As much fun as possible.
Yeah, exactly. So the Counter-Reformation, the big event was the Council of Trent, 1545 through 1563. They're just like, all this theological bullshit we believe is true. Right? They made no concessions there. They're like, all right, we'll do a few institutional reforms, right? So they decide our clergy should be better educated so they can actually say the mass.
That's good. Good stuff.
They try and make some attempts to rein in abuse of clergy's office, right?
Man,
especially financially.
I love to get up in the pulpit and be like, Lorem ipsum dolorsi amets.
The word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God. They ended the practice of splitting the proceeds from indulgences between the church and the people who collected the indulgence money. And I was like, all right,
fucking over gig workers. What a surprise.
Yeah.
Fucking Dog the Bounty Hunter for indulgences. That rules.
No more commissions.
How's a man supposed to feed his 19 illegitimate children?
Clement VIII decided he's going to go and cancel a bunch of indulgences which had involved financial transactions, right? And I guess that meant a bunch of people got sent back to purgatory.
Womp womp.
F.
Yeah.
F's in the chats.
But overall, the theology in most of the institution was basically the same. They just looked like they were doing reform, so, you know, it worked, right?
And meanwhile, they're creating all of this beautiful art to be like, come over to the Catholic side. We have like fun and like music and stuff.
Oh yeah, this particular painting shows, you know, this is the church, and here
This is
are
the steeple.
the Protestants with their books being burned by the angels.
Yes.
This is me serenely above the horde of posters of haters and losers.
Was that right?
Yes.
It's us reading the comment section.
My favorite pastime, truly.
I think this is Alice's slide.
Oh shit.
Yes.
We're talking about nonconformism because as part of my like general theme here of like people who did not like establishment Protestantism but also did not like Catholicism, there's a bunch of like weird. Basically, in England at this time, you could just be a radical preacher if you just had like a wide-brimmed hat and a staff. You could just kind of like sit on a tree branch and start yelling at people, and you start a denomination that way. And this obviously leads to some highly variable and weird results. There's probably a bunch of sex cults,
Nice.
but also some like you get the diggers who just decide, oh hey, the Bible says and Jesus says in the Bible all of this stuff about common ownership and leaderlessness and social justice and radical equality. What if we invent anarchism 400 years early? And it kind of it's surprisingly progressive, right? They're all like, oh, we should just own everything in common. We should like not privilege anybody above anyone else. Maybe we shouldn't like torture and imprison people. And of course they get persecuted.
Naturally.
And the other big nonconformist thing that you get are Quakers. Trembling in fear of the Lord, right? You do silent prayer together, and if somebody feels moved by the Spirit or whatever, they stand up and they preach and they do ministry. But other than that, you don't have like organized worship. And they immediately like the English state does not like them at all because they keep doing things like calling everybody thee and thou, which is actually the informal thing, not the formal. People think it's more formal now. That's backwards. So they're fucking calling everyone comrade, right?
Ordinary pronouns, baby.
Yes.
Yeah, they dress plainly, which means they wear those big like Quaker Oats outfits, and they don't swear oaths, which means if you try to like bring them up in court for being a Quaker, which is illegal, then you can be like, do you want to like plead guilty or not? And they'll just be like, no, and they'll call you thou while they do it, which is very annoying. So of course you got to persecute them too. And that doesn't really like. Eventually things kind of liberalize a little bit. And so like as late as the 19th century, you get these like giant Quaker industrialists, like the guy who founded Cadbury's chocolate, who are like, well, we'll be philanthropists. We'll build these like model towns for our workers, and we'll do this like kind of Christian stewardship thing. And of course today Quakers are still a thing. They're still very like, for the most part, very very militant. They do anti-war protests. They do anti-capitalism protests. It's very cool. And also a bunch of them went to America where they founded a city called Franklin.
Yes.
And also gave the world Richard Nixon. So it's a land of contrasts.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yes, it's always here in Philadelphia / Franklin. It's always interesting. You can tell a Quaker residence. It's inevitably like very large and very well appointed, but like also they have like a bunch of like campaign signs out that show like FDR's 4 freedoms.
They all go to Swarthmore. Yeah.
They go to Germantown Friends. I did some work out there once. I was like, this is a very nice school. You know, it's but it's impossible to get in. Very nice school, teaching people very progressive things. I'm sure they'll forget it immediately because of class position, but at least they're making the effort.
My mommy went to Quaker school. Moorestown Friends, baby.
There's actually a transatlantic difference here I'm noticing, which is that your Quakers are a lot better to do than ours. Like, we have some middle class ones, but by and large our Quakers are fucking hippies.
Ours are very wealthy hippies.
Yeah, we got a lot of very wealthy Quakers out here.
Ours aren't the like Warren kind of hippies. Ours are the like camp out in the rain for 17 hours outside an army base kind of hippies. I remember I went to like Glasgow Meeting House, and they were like, "Oh, sorry, try not to like touch the walls because we just found out they're full of asbestos, and also we cannot afford to do anything about that. So you just should kind of like hold your breath."
I guess the folks who had who came over here and got Penn's Woods never sent the money back to the other Quakers.
Suck it, nerds.
You know the weird thing is that you also have a thing that died out here because they all went to the States is organized Quakers. They're all like a weird kind of like quasi Amish or Mennonite thing. There's like they live in a couple of communities, but they have like Quaker prayer halls and stuff. It's weird.
I thought you for some reason I thought you were going towards like Quaker organized crime, which would be dope.
Sorry.
Couldn't get made because you weren't full Quaker. You just wake up in the middle of the night and there's a big box of oatmeal in your bed.
There's just the big Quaker hat under your pillow.
I mean, there was Amish organized crime, right? Like, there was that space of beard shavings, which is a genuine thing. They would like grab a guy and they would hold him down. They would shave off half of his beard as like an own. Like, that's incredible.
That's funny.
Yeah, that's real funny.
You people are monsters.
I just love the idea that the FBI fucking roll up on the commission meeting in upstate New York in the 50s, and there's just like a horse buggy outside too.
Like, boss, get a load of this.
It's a high-speed chase. Trying to chase the horse. Trying to jump the horse over like a drawbridge that's opening up. It's 25 miles to Albany. We got half a pack of what do the Amish have? Which
oats?
No,
hay.
Yeah,
of
like cigarettes or something like that.
Yes, the Amish are known for smoking.
We got half a churn of butter.
Half a churn of butter. We have 50 pounds of oats. It's dark and we're wearing sunglasses. All right.
Oh man, yeah. That's all I had on Nonconformist. Although I was very pleased with my picture choice there.
So then, all right. A bunch of stuff happened, which we didn't have time to put in the episode, so we could talk about the last bit. So the Wars of Religion, the First Great Awakening, the Second Great Awakening, the Third Great Awakening, lots of American politics.
Me when I set my alarms in the morning. Just like, alarm 6, 6:05, 6:06, 6:10.
Maybe we'll talk about this more in a part 2 of this. But now let's talk about
see how this one gets over.
Yeah, some more modern aspects of Protestantism, especially focused on La Estados Unidos.
Yay! Hello, my name is Elder Alice, and I would like to share with you this book of Jesus Christ.
So once again, God decided to bypass the chain of command.
Yeah, it gets. Oh, I did this slide.
All right, take us away. Tell us about the guy with the trumpet.
Oh shit! All right, great. So, Mormonism is started by Joseph Smith in the 1820s, where he had a dream where the angel Moroni, whose name I assume I'm mispronouncing, told him about some
I think it actually is
golden
Moroni.
plates on a hill. Oh, good for me. Some golden plates on a hill that told the story. Oh Jesus. Of a New Testament of Jesus Christ.
Yeah, another one. Bible fan fiction.
About, God, they believe that Native Americans were part of God's chosen people. There were 4 tribes. Yeah, dude, shit gets... Like, I do some stuff about Mormonism.
It is...
They don't really see themselves as Protestant. They're like, we're a restoration of the early church. They did some shit where they baptized dead Holocaust victims a while back.
Oh yeah, they do that. Yeah,
which is super fucking evil. Don't do that. We don't fucking come to Utah and make you do the horror and shit. So don't fucking touch our people.
Like this is the thing with like Mormons, right? Is that like Joseph Smith founded Mormonism, or the Church of Latter-day Saints of Jesus Christ, in like upstate New York in the 1820s, because one of the things that we didn't talk about very quickly, that Great Awakening, was that everybody and their mums in upstate New York in the 1820s was just starting a religion or doing revivalism, or in a secret society, which had a bunch of like secret handshakes and Freemason shit. And then this fucking guy just decides, okay, well, just 2 great tastes that taste great together. We'll do some secret handshakes. We'll do some weird underwear shit. And also we'll do the like revivalism, religious rapture thing. And we'll start a religion. And he gets kicked out of New York. So they go to, I think, fucking Missouri. And they... Illinois, get kicked out of Illinois, go to Missouri. He gets killed
by a mob. Yeah, he gets lynched.
Missouri. By a mob. He gets lynched by a mob. At the same time, he's trying to do a Freemason SOS thing where he's like, "Will no one come to the aid of the widow's son?" And they just kick him out a window, which owned. And then
defenestrated.
The survivors, led by this guy called Brigham Young, go west and they do the like Oregon Trail thing, except they go to Utah. They settle in Utah. They kill a bunch of native people. They kill a bunch of other native people. They kill a bunch of non-Mormon people, and they found this weird mounted like fucking janjaweed called the Nauvoo Legion. And all the time they're building these fucking weird temples with like the angel Moroni on top with his trumpet. It's just very chill. And like, the problem with Mormonism is that it suffers from the same problem that Ahmadiyya Islam does, or like Baha'i does, or any modern cult does, which is that it just was too modern. If a guy just, like, if Muhammad is like, an angel told me this stuff, that's unfalsifiable. Whereas if a guy called Joe from New York says, "Hey, I got these plates," you can kind of ask, "Hey, can I see the plates?" No. Can I touch the plates? No.
Hey, I got these plates.
Fell off the back of an angel truck.
And if you believe that, I got a bridge to sell you.
Yeah, well, what's written on the plates? Well, I'll transcribe it, but the way that I have to do that is I have this special stone, and I'll put it in a hat, and I put the hat on the front of my face, and then I just read through the stone.
They also believe you can become a god with your own planet and shit.
Love to high to Kolob.
Yeah, if we have any Mormon listeners, sorry, your faith is ridiculous.
No, I always liked that part. I always thought that'd be fun.
Yeah.
Feel free to baptize me into Mormonism posthumously. I don't care.
Do not do that shit to me or Liam,
please.
No, it's like
I'll be dead. I don't care.
Do not baptize.
I feel like it's not appreciably more insane than a lot of other religions. It's just more recent, and so the more like insane stuff hasn't had a guy like St. Paul or a bunch of popes or a bunch of caliphs to go through and like sand off some of the weirdness and be like, okay, when the prophet said this, what he actually meant, he didn't literally mean you would turn into a planet. Okay, you're not gonna orbit God.
Nope, you're gonna literally orbit God, folks.
No, I thought you became a god.
Yeah, you do.
Of your own universe.
You get your own planet.
Yeah.
Jesus has a planet. God has a planet. Kolob is a planet, and there's the whole Mormon cosmology.
Can I visit other people's planets?
I imagine.
I hope so. I think it's just like No Man's Sky. I mean, also the one thing that we have not talked about that we should is Mormon history and Mormon historiography, because that's the funniest shit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Liam, take it away. Tell us what happens with their Bible fan fiction.
So, are we talking about the actual Book of Mormon? Because I flubbed the research here.
Yeah,
other than there's the 4 native tribes, and just like they believe that like Native Americans came over and were like an ancient people that like became the 4 tribes, and then there was a battle between the Lanerites and the Nephites, I want to say.
Yeah, basically the way I think it's currently understood is in the middle of the Old Testament, some of the Israelites just get on a boat and they go to America.
Oh yeah, they just bounce. Yeah, they just fucking bounce.
They bounce. They go to America. They like, and then this whole sort of this text, this other testament of Jesus Christ, if you like plays out in fucking South America, where there's like battles between good and evil, and this people and this other people. And then what Mormon archaeologists and such have tried to do is identify those as real places and be like, oh, it says here there's a mountain, and it says here there's a plain and a river. So where can we go in like America that matches up to that? And then, can we identify this native tribe as this people? And of course they can't, because it was made up by a guy called Joe in upstate New York. But they keep trying. And so you end up with these weird, contrived things where, like, stuff that has clearly been invented and invented recently enough that you can prove it. They just have to try to like insist that when it says scimitars, the fact that no Native American peoples had swords, but like Joseph Smith knew what a sword was and just said sword, maybe it means this kind of club, or maybe they did have swords and we just don't know. And it's just like they just tie themselves in knots. It's the funniest shit in the world. I highly recommend it.
There's also American exceptionalism. There's also, there's a guy named Mormon who's a Native American who's born in like 300, and for some reason he like abridges his people's history on the golden plates. He was visited by Jesus Christ at age 15. Yeah, it just goes wildly off the fucking rails. And like that's a Jewish person talking.
They just need about 500 or 600 years of institutional development and it'll be fine.
Pretty much. They're in like early access.
Yeah, exactly. The Mormons just need to age into an established religion. They'll be fine. It's gonna take a 1,000 years or so, but Yeah,
well, like the Church of Latter-day Saints insisted that black people were genetically inferior and unfit for priesthood
until like 1983.
Until like 1983, but when you consider that that's like maybe 200 years, that's a faster benchmark to get to that than any of our religions managed.
I was about to say, yeah, you will they will be past they will be at Quaker levels of development before within our lifetimes.
We gotta fucking get on that shit and be like fucking Mormon accelerationism.
Mm-hmm. Right. I gotta change the slides. Right. Yeah. So
you do.
What more do we have? Oh,
Baptists.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, Baptists are super varied. The thing that kind of binds them all together is a believer's baptism, so not infant baptism. There's a whole lot of like emphasis, at least between some Baptists, on biblical authority and shit like that. And also,
But mostly it's you just get dunked in a pool as a grown dude.
yeah, because complete immersion. Although Baptists historically have been pretty good about the separation of church and state, so that's cool. Yeah, that's the church founded by Roger Williams in Providence, Rhode Island.
So what's the difference between a Baptist and a Southern Baptist is my question.
Well, Southern Baptists, as far as I know, basically were relatively liberal until the abortion question totally blew them out of their normalcy. And then they just became like a front group for far-right nationalism.
Cool.
What about a Baptist and an Anabaptist?
Well, there's like a matter and antimatter. They cancel each other out. You just get a massive explosion in the immersing pool.
But they seem to believe the same things about baptism, which is you should wait until you're an adult.
That's why I said Baptists, they're not super well organized. There's a lot of emphasis on church autonomy in at least American Baptists.
Yeah, and you call it Baptist, and yet this is clearly steamed.
Man,
this is the most aggressively like bad reaction I've gotten to a joke. just like a single, very like combative.
Listen, I'm sleepy.
Yeah.
Get me to the prosperity gospel weirdos.
Yeah, seventh inning stretch. Let's bring it home.
I actually got to stand up.
Remember,
for a second.
I'm gonna have to fucking type all of this shit up, and it's gonna be 3 hours. I'm still stuck on the atmospheric railway.
Oh god.
Where are we on time? I don't even want to look at Audacity. Oh boy, we're about to hit 2 hours. All right,
that's
fine. I'm standing up for a second. All right, so there's a picture of Joel Osteen's Lakewood Church in Texas.
No, that's WrestleMania. No, I can see the fucking screens.
No, you can't. Where's the cage, Alice?
Explain why they're both full of John 3:16 signs.
Joel Osteen's Hell in a Cell.
Why if you are on the stage here, right, and presumably there's an altar, right, and you're supposed to, after Vatican II, you're supposed to face the congregation, but there is congregation all around you.
Yeah, it's theater in the round, man.
Do the jumbotrons count?
Yes.
As facing the congregation? Okay.
You know they do.
They don't even really fuck with altars, as far as I know. Like there'll be one up there, but it's pretty subdued.
Yeah, because the point is the pastor. The point is the guy.
Yeah, it's more like a sort of a motivational thing. There'll be like a guy with one of those like headset mics.
Yeah, exactly. Because so we're gonna talk about born again dickheads. I will be honest with you. I fucking hate these people. As I think
it's like Calvinism but dumber,
but on fucking steroids. So evangelical is actually a pretty broad term. There's not a whole lot of scholarly agreement as to what it actually means. So I'm going to specify born again weirdos who basically specify that you need to be born again, and have basically just accept Jesus Christ as your savior. Total sola fide. These people are the kind of people who would be like, well, if a guy who murdered and raped like 25 kids said he had faith in Jesus as his savior, that he would get into heaven. Because nothing
so
you
the
do
Catholic
on earth,
Church.
Yeah. Well, not Catholic either.
Just move into another parish.
That's fine. That's fine. Because the shit you do on earth has no effect on whether or not you're a good person, apparently.
Yeah.
So
it's the stuff that like Chapo Trap House called it the most American religion, and I feel like they're kind of right.
It is.
It's talking to Jesus and being like, that's not the real me.
I don't know where that came from. These guys get into some pretty bizarro world shit like faith healing, fucking speaking in tongues, which I actually think is pretty metal, but not with those fucking people. We talk about biblical inerrancy, so believing the Bible is the literal and perfect word of God.
In English still,
yes,
by the
obviously
way.
There's kind of a offshoot of that called the King James only movement, which is that the King James version is superior to all other translations, and you can't use anything else, and that's the perfect and unerring word of God, which is absolutely fucking insane.
The funniest thing is that the King James version was designed to be accessible. The reason why it sounds so like highfalutin now is the same thing with the Quakers with the thous and these and thines, is that our conception of what formal English has changed so much that we think it just sounds fancy.
Yes. And we got the oh god. There's a whole bunch of like there's people that believe the King James version is like a New Testament from God himself. Which is
you told me that. You told me there were King James only believers, and I was like, no, I believe that. I instantly believe that. That makes sense to me. I believe the King James Bible is the holy divine word of God.
No, you don't. You literally don't believe that. That is fraudulent.
Look, they told us about the Egyptians' penises in there.
Yeah.
And she remembered her time in Egypt and lusted after her lovers whose emissions were as those of horses, right?
Yes.
Like, yeah, very, very cool.
What else we got? We got the fucking people who make God a rock show when God should be solemn and weird, and make you feel bad. Religion should make you feel bad, and they do not do a good job of that.
Yeah. It's the thing is they've tried to like reintroduce some of the Counter-Reformation thing of all fun, but their concept of fun is just the King of the Hill joke about you
going to fucking youth group.
You're not making church better, you're just making rock and roll worse.
Yes. And these fucking people are related to the prosperity gospel, who, if you donate to God, you'll get rich, he'll reward you, because your financial well-being is related to your kind of spiritual and physical well-being.
Predestination.
It's like they're just selling indulgences. They're just selling
but it's
indulgences.
it's almost as if there's some kind of underlying class character here, and that like all of this is just like, if only there was a word for this, if that we could pronounce in like a Slavoj Zizek sort of way, as ideology. That creates this idea of like meritorious wealth and of an elect, and that elect being better personally, and that explaining inequality of outcomes. And that's why you're going to get rich, because you know it in your heart, and if you aren't, then it's because you know, maybe you're just not sincere enough.
That is true. No, it's because you're a bad person.
And if you're rich, you're a good person, and that's why there is absolutely no tension. When people were like there was a ton of like, oh, Team Warren, I'm a fucking Hufflepuff liberals who were like, why don't the evangelical people condemn Trump? He hates everything that they stand for. They're totally opposed to each. No, they're not. They're not at all. He is like, whether he even says that he's saved or not, it doesn't matter, because he is successful, and by that success, he has shown that he is one of the elect.
And at the very least, he's a useful idiot for them.
Yeah, that's it.
But also,
I'm not the most like religiously, confident person, but if someone is preaching prosperity gospel, the only thing I want to say to them is, you're a fucking heretic. This is some heretical shit. You deserve to be burned at the stake.
Oh boy! Donald Trump,
yes, I hope you die, and I hope you burn in hell.
Donald Trump actually has a spiritual advisor named Paula White, who does this shitty Protestant thing where you decide to cosplay as a Jewish person for some reason. And she'll like have
because they're the real Israelites.
Yeah, they fucking absolutely. It's like British Israelitism wasn't dumb enough for them, so they had to make it about Americans.
Yeah.
And just absolute fucking insanity where they're like, we're gonna have a Yom Kippur like prayer meeting, and it's like, no, fuck off. Okay, here's what you do.
They got one of them brought a shofar.
Oh, I hate that shit.
They brought a shofar to the White House.
Yes, they fucking do that. They fucking take our shit, and they're just like, well, actually, supersessionism makes a lot of sense. And I'm just like, I'm going to fucking put you up on a cross and see how that feels. You want to get biblical? We'll get fucking biblical. And next time, we'll make sure Jesus stays down.
You want to know my favorite evangelical thing is the style of prayer that they do, where you can just like by invoking Jesus, you can just sort of do magic. And there's if you see the documentary Jesus Camp, which is a little bit like Hufflepuff or whatever, but like there's a great example of it in there where a guy tries to make a broken air conditioner work by putting by laying hands on the air conditioner and screaming, "I command this air conditioner to work in Jesus' name." It's wild. That's my favorite shit. I love it.
Did it work?
No.
Oh.
Yeah.
Guess he didn't have enough faith.
Yeah, these are also the people. So I will look for more confirmation of this. But so my girlfriend, who was raised Catholic, if anyone's curious, was telling me about this family where tragically, like their 2-year-old daughter or 3-year-old daughter, I think, just died basically out of nowhere, and I'm not totally sure on the details. But their super evangelical, charismatic community basically like implored God to bring her back from the dead and like pull a new Lazarus. And I was just kind of like, this shit sucks, dude. Like, it's not even like, because you're just like, your kid's dead. And like, that's a tragedy. Like, I have nothing funny to say about that. But just putting your faith in these people that just absolutely aren't fucking interested in helping you. And just absolutely, like, they gotta know, like, their shit stinks at some point. And it just blows ass to like,
that's why the prosperity gospel ones
are so pure fucking evil. And like John Oliver, for all his faults, did a really good segment on them, where these people are flying around in fucking jets.
Those are the ones. Yeah, I don't know if you can be up there on one of those stages and still be like a true believer, but I know that the prosperity guys are the ones who definitely aren't, because you can't be like, I should have this Learjet, and you should pay for me to have the Learjet and still have like an ounce of sincerity left. It's so totally fucking. It's I
just like, and like, not to be like Judaism is the superior religion, which it is, obviously, as we all know. You're very welcome. But just like, my rabbi drives like a Kia Sorento, and the rabbi before him drove a Prius, and just like, then you see these people. You know, like, especially in Philly, you'll see these kind of like storefront churches, and they've got, you know, the pastor's driving a Range Rover, and you're just like, fuck off, man. Like, just fuck off. Next slide, please. Let's talk about the Jehovah's, baby.
Damn, I was also going to comment like on, you know, just the sanctuary itself here is like not, it does not feel like a place of worship.
No, yeah, exactly. It feels like a WWE match.
Yeah, you don't feel in communion with Christ when you're at this, you think?
There are plenty of like well-executed, you know, high-capacity churches I have seen before, even modernist ones. I've also seen some pretty poorly executed sanctuaries.
There's some pretty poorly executed trad ones.
And, Roz, are you okay? Were you trying to criticize a church and you wanted to be a whiny child about it?
I was trying to criticize. So my dad decided at some point when I was a kid that he didn't like the church we usually went to because the pastor was too liberal. So he, along with a bunch of the congregation there, went off and they founded a split-off church from Nativity Catholic Church that was St. Raymond's Church, right? And then it was designed in a more traditional way than Nativity, right? They got some stained glass from a church that was being demolished, I think in upstate New York. They put it in there. It was sort of like, imagine like a traditional church, but it was designed like a McMansion. That's basically what it was. The proportions were terrible. The acoustics were awful. It was garbage. It looked vaguely traditional as opposed to Nativity, which was unabashedly modern. But it was, you know, definitely modern in a solemn fashion. And it's like just like you can...
Like what church used to be where the Houston Rockets played. Like... like it's impossible to fucking think like obviously, yeah, you can have churches that are like magnificent in, you know, their size and splendor. Like Notre Dame is one of the most beautiful buildings ever constructed, and like I certainly felt a sense of awe the last time I was there, but like it doesn't feel the way these mega churches do.
Yeah,
I
there's
mean,
no.
I think we can put a marker down and just like get ourselves cancelled for like the second to last time on this episode and say that the only people to have done a good Protestant experience in America, because even the Quakers did Nixon, the only good Protestants in America are black Protestants. Because
yes.
yeah, the only theological innovation in America has come from the black church, has come from, for instance, Martin Luther King. And like that is totally alien to the prospect of cramming this like horde of Range Rover wine moms into fucking Thunderdome here. It's
Also,
just,
gospel music.
also gospel music. Yeah.
Also
Yes.
gospel music. Yeah, give me the Jehovah's, baby. All right. Oh boy. All right.
So that's some fashions.
So the thing to say about
be right
Jehovah's
back.
Witnesses is that, God damn it, dude. All right, so it's time for the third joke a rabbi taught me, which is that, all right, so a Reform rabbi, a conservative rabbi, and an Orthodox rabbi are out golfing, and they're stuck behind this group of men who are going incredibly fucking slow, and they debate among themselves. Should we let them go? Should we ask to like play through? And they go back and forth. Eventually, they call the card attendant over and say, what the fuck is going on? And she says, "I'm so sorry, gentlemen. The men ahead of you are blind." And the Orthodox rabbi immediately feels shame and says, "Oh, I'll say a blessing. I'm so sorry. I didn't know this." The conservative rabbi, bows his head and say, "I'll say a blessing, right now. I'm so sorry. I didn't know. How terrible of me." And the Reform rabbi looks right at her and says, "Fuck him. Let him play in the dark."
Actually, I just remembered I have a rabbi joke too.
Oh,
yeah, it's real good. Okay, so this rabbi, after like a lifetime of service to his community and to his congregation,
yes. Sorry, I just died by this joke.
Yeah, he's retiring, and he's gonna go move upstate, and he's gonna like live out the rest of his days in like quiet and contemplation. But before he does, the one thing that he wants to do, and he knows it's a sin, but he really wants to try it, is he wants to try to eat pork, right? Because never ever in his life. And so he puts on like a big hat and like a coat with the collar turned up, and he goes all the way across town, and he goes to a restaurant that nobody knows, and he asks them for a roast pig, right? And he's waiting, and they bring him the roast pig, and it's steamy. It's got the apple in its mouth and everything. It smells like the most delicious thing he's ever smelled in his life. And he picks up the fork, and two of the members of his synagogue come in. And they say, and they recognize him immediately, and they say, "Rabbi, what are you doing?" And he looks from them to the pig, and then back to the pig, and back to them, and he says, "I tell you what, you order a baked apple, and they just give you all of this."
Oh, that's not the joke I thought we were going for. So I'll tell.
What was the joke? Yeah.
Oh, so a rabbi is on his deathbed, and he calls his students over, one more time. And they're breathlessly listening to him. They don't want to miss anything. They're already in mourning. And he says, "Bring me a priest. I wish to convert." And of course they're flabbergasted. And they, "Rabbi, why? You've been such a great teacher and leader. You've led this congregation and these people for many years. Why now? Why now?" And he looks at them and he says, "Better one of them than one of us."
Have you heard what Voltaire said on his deathbed?
When they asked to condemn Satan, he said, "This is not a time for making enemies."
Yes.
All right, give me Jehovah's.
You're here.
Yeah, you got the Jehovah's. We're just making fun of the skirts.
All right. So, one of the things to know about the Jehovah's Witnesses is that they believe only 144,000 people will get into heaven. Do you know how many Jehovah's Witnesses there are?
I'm gonna guess more.
It's like 8.2 million.
Oh, that sucks.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah, by your own math, this is not going so good.
Plays all along the watchtower.
This is not convincing me to convert.
they're an end times cult that's just kind of stuck around. Jesus was supposed to come back and blew it. So now they believe that Jesus started to rule in heaven in 1914, and ever since then, life has sucked. So thanks for nothing, Henry Ford. They believe that Jesus Christ died on a single post rather than the cross. I actually have no idea why they believe this.
I think because it's not in the scripture that it says a cross. They have some kind of like weird translation arguments.
They have another book.
But they have an argument about what the Greek word means.
There's like historical evidence of the Romans crucifying people, though, right?
Yeah, but sometimes just on a post and sometimes not, and like it's weird.
To be fair, the forbidden fruit is just a fruit. It never says anywhere that it's an apple.
That's true.
It seems like in general that's a technicality that doesn't matter, but we fought wars over less. So
yeah, we have done crusades over less. I mean, also the Jehovah's Witnesses got persecuted by the Nazis, which is like
yes, they did
a lot. Along with the Freemasons, it's one of those weird things where you're just like, hey, you're an odd bunch of guys, but I do not support doing genocide to you.
Jehovah's Witnesses actually have also been very good for First Amendment claims about not standing for the pledge, because of course they don't recognize any of that. So I believe the first
birthdays.
The birthdays, Easter, any of that, because they stem from pagan celebrations. But some of the very important Supreme Court cases about forcing kids to stand or not stand for the Pledge of Allegiance were Jehovah's Witnesses back in like the 40s. So they've done some good stuff mixed in there with all the fucking crazy.
Yeah, well, I feel like that's the thing with a lot of like same with the nonconformists earlier, is just by being a weird inconvenience to state power, just by virtue of like being any sort of small religious denomination. Christian Scientists too, which is just like just some lady in, I think, Baltimore just decided she had a dream or something about Christ the scientist, and because of that, like nobody should have blood transfusions or medical treatment.
Baby.
They have a very nice campus in Boston. Big reflecting pool, a lot of brutalist buildings actually. Also led to a bunch of really interesting blood treatments because they won't take transfusions.
Yeah, also a bunch more legal cases of when you can like compel, for instance, if a parent says their kid shouldn't get surgery because it's against their religion, whether that's allowed or not. Also, my favorite Tom Lehrer joke is he's talking about the possibility of nuclear war, and he says that people have started to feel like a Christian Scientist with appendicitis. And that one just fucking stuck with me to this day.
Also, lots and lots of door-to-door preaching. And fun fact, if you ever want to get out of a Jehovah's Witness talking to you, just say you've been disfellowshipped. They will run for it.
What about, this reminds me of that time we were in Burlington, Vermont, and we took that Bible quiz.
Oh, those fucking assholes. Oh, those dipshits. No, it was grape juice. Nah, motherfucker, it was wine. Give me my 9 out of 10.
It was wine.
Did Jesus have any brothers and sisters? Juice. No, sort of, but not really. Like,
this is like what's I guess they're the kind of the Christian equivalent of the Orthodox Jewish guys in New York who like ask you on the street if you're Jewish or not.
Oh god, they can sense it on me, man. They
have Judah.
I was in Providence, Rhode Island. I was visiting a friend of mine who graduated from Brown, and my dad and I were wandering on Brown's campus, and Brown's Hasidic Zlubavitcher rabbi came up to us. It was like, "Gentlemen, are you Jewish?" And we were like, "Yeah." And then we're kind of like quickly, "Not your kind of Jewish, but yes." And he was like, "Great, now you have to do the lulav and the etrog." So I had to shake 11 for God. Fucking look it up.
Aren't the Lubavitcher guys like? Didn't they think that their rabbi was like the Messiah? Or have I got?
Yep.
I remember there was just they just had a guy. And who Yeah, and they just thought he was the Messiah. So that's cool. That's cool.
Is
I like
that what
that.
the rabbi believed? I didn't know that.
Oh, our rabbi who doesn't believe in God? Yeah.
Yes. Our next door neighbor rabbi.
Yeah, the Islamic equivalent to this are the Ahmadi, who are like, again, often persecuted. It's illegal in Pakistan to call yourself a Muslim if you're an Ahmadi, but they think that this guy who, again, had the same problem as Joseph Smith of doing prophecy too late in time, in like 1910 Pakistan, called Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, was like the next prophet in a religion that explicitly says no more prophets. Not sure how they square this one, but like, yeah, it's wild.
Yeah, Schneerson was was one of the leaders of the Witchers until about 1994, and a lot of people believed he was the Messiah. Obviously, no, because there's no global peace. Just kind of want to point out that Judaism, if someone's Jewish and they say to you, "Oh, the Messiah has come," you should beat that person to death for being a heretic. No, he's not coming. There is no Messiah. It's over.
Hang in there, but help is not coming.
just waiting on that hidden imam. Yeah. That's that is some Shia stuff to me. It's just like waiting for the hidden imam to come back, because you had an imam.
Are so sweaty.
Yeah. Well, I think we can probably call this a 2-hour something episode.
Yeah. We're running. We're out of slides here. We don't have.
We're out of slides. We're running out of tape.
Yeah.
All right. So, are we doing the next bonus episode on the American University?
If that's what you, whose turn is it next? It's your turn.
It would be your turn. Yeah.
Is it my turn?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Although
cool.
we all worked on this episode, but
we could all work on.
I guess. Yeah, we can all just do university as a concept.
Yeah.
We can all just do college.
Cool. Yeah, let's just do college. We're all going to college, folks. Gonna get a degree.
Philo goes to college.
Finally. Yeah.
We're gonna do the Descendants label art, but it's just gonna be Alice's face. Alice finishes law school.
I look forward to like saying Dremel University when I mean Drexel a million times.
That school should be burned to the fucking ground.
Sawzall University.
Hell yeah.
All right. Are we done? Please, God, let us be done.
Please, I think we're done.
We're done. Yeah. Join us next month in college. I'll be awkward with girls even more.
Oh, yep.
We will all be wearing the Belushi college sweatshirt.
Yes.
Yes. All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.